Why do you do all of this? The
Why
social
do I do
media, all of it. Why?
Because we're being overrun by toxic people who desperately need therapy, showing people that there's a one-size-fits-all approach to fitness when it's the furthest thing from it. And someone needs to stand up to them and show them what actual science-based information is, show them, to meet people where they're at, because nobody came out of the womb jacked or benching 315, and they're forgetting what it was to start off, and they're trying to impress their peers as opposed to their intended audience. So I want to shut them up and show people what actual fitness and wellness is. I want to encourage people to show up for themselves regardless of what size they are or what advancement level they're at. And if I change just one life, then I'm doing my job. So, yeah.
This is actually a really funny topic. And let me tell you why it's a funny topic to me, because 99% of the people that are the macho, self-righteous almost, right? Like the heavy on the discipline, and we'll get into that in a little bit because I am heavy on discipline.
Yeah, same here.
But and I know you are. You can't look like you and me without being. But most of these guys that are preaching this shit were complete pieces of shit like 2 years ago. Like not even somebody, and we know who, right, gave these people permission to be derelicts with their social media platform, completely laying by the wayside the fact that they were the weakest pieces of shit ever. And by the way, and I just happen to know this, still dealing currently with the consequences of their behaviors. In other words, they don't have custody of their kids, right? Like they're not truly living all of these things. Right. They're still dealing with those consequences, yet they are fucking, I don't know, just like laying stuff on people that really is their own burden.
They can show whatever version they want on social media, and when people call them out on their shit, they fucking lose it. It was so funny. I remember this one guy who was like, well, if you're not, there should be nothing wrong with fat shaming if you don't think that you're fat. The only reason why you're probably offended is because you're fat. And I just think that's stupid. It's like, no, because you're treating someone like shit for your own personal gain. You're not just telling them the truth. You're going up to someone saying they're fat and trying to degrade them. And then I called him out, and his whole thing was like, see, if someone told me something, I would reflect on it. I would grow on it. So I called him out. He made like 4 videos in response to me, just flipping out like, you motherfucker, I blah, blah, blah. I don't even know you. You don't know how I coach my clients. I'm the best. And like, he lost it. I'm like, see, you're all soft as baby shit.
100%. So it's funny. I did another one of these virtual podcasts with Ethan Bernard. You know Ethan, right?
Yeah.
And he's a great kid. He's actually from my hometown. And I love him to death. We're both 6'5", so we both 6'5" from West Michigan. And so we had a number of things in common. And we had this conversation of like fat shaming versus toxic body positivity. And sure. I think both are toxic, right? And I'm somebody who was morbidly obese. I was well over 100 pounds overweight, and went through 2 body transplants. I did it twice, lost it, gained it back. But at the end of the day, the idea of like fat shaming for the sake of fat shaming, or even at all, it's not. Dale Carnegie talks about it. Are you familiar with How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Maybe if I saw him, but go on.
Okay, the book is, if you haven't read it, I would read it for sure. But the approach of shaming somebody in general is not actually like, that's not how people are wired. That doesn't actually do any good. And the truth is, it is more self-rewarding to like making people that already fucking agree with you like your shit. Ultimately, the algorithm is not going to put people in front of you that need to hear that you think need to hear that. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I was shamed into getting into shape, so I did it by any means possible, regardless of my physical and mental health, and that's why I was miserable for so long. And I try to do the same thing with like my like income when like all my friends are making money. I was like cutting deals left and right that would spread me so thin, just training for so little, just so I can have money to appear to be on level with them. And it didn't occur to me once to just do what I needed to do and forget people that didn't accept me for me. And ultimately, my consistency would build to the person I want to be. But because people make you feel like shit and you become so desperate, you'll do anything to overcome that. So a lot of people think that just because they got to the end result of, let's say, being fit or whatever, and they're like, this worked for me. And it's like, well, you still seem a little fucked up because you're treating people like shit. Like, yeah, sure, you're jacked now. Nice. What?
That's just part of the process.
Yeah.
Do you think, and if this question I hope this question makes sense. Do you think that your values were built off of the lessons that you learned?
Yeah, of course. I'm very grateful that it never fell into how I treated my clients. A part of me knew that it was fucked up, and I didn't fast track my clients because I didn't want to put them through it because I knew how miserable I was. And the fact that I just kept going back and forth between body compositions through the majority of my career, and now since I met myself where I was at doing it the right way, I haven't gone backwards once. It's just all the evidence I need.
Okay. What about in terms of how you treat yourself financially? Because you were saying
oh yeah. I mean, I just I put myself in like $35,000 worth of debt then, but I have zero debt now. We do well for ourselves, and I don't buy for dopamine anymore. I don't buy for status. I just get what I need, take care of my family. I prioritize what makes me happy. I cook a lot, so I buy high quality food. That's an expense that I stand behind, and it's just things like that. I invest well, all that.
it's we start setting these boundaries with ourselves, as we're kind of made aware of like where our decisions are leading us. That's why I asked that,
Yeah,
because I think some people like, when we're trying to play this like keep up with the Joneses thing,
right.
right? And then we start bending our values, or we didn't really have those values to begin with. We just didn't know any better. And as we start to develop and as we get older, that's kind of why, like earlier when I was sending you a voice note and I was like, I have certain ways that I look at things, and that developed over time. And that's why when we see, and like just kind of touching back on like these guys that found fitness like 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden now they're like militant douchebags, like it's like where did your values really come from? Are you just trying to emulate somebody else, or what's really the scoop here? Because I can tell you that, and I think we have this in common, where we kind of had to discover ourselves throughout like a long process, and over years of like trial and error, and trying to keep up with people, or bending our values, or not necessarily sticking to one course or a plan, allowed us to kind of see what really works for ourselves. And that's, I think, what turns us into better coaches. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah. And along the way, you'll probably lose some people who are holding you back, and that's just something that you have to deal with. I lost a lot of people when I just started prioritizing myself and partying less and everything, because ultimately I just thought about like, as long as I paid my bills, I thought I was good. As long as I did X amount, I thought I was good. It was like okay, I don't have to worry about anything, but I wasn't thinking long term at all. And I wasn't thinking about how my trajectory was going way downhill. And it just took me like getting to like the bottom to realize like, okay, you own an online coaching company and you don't look like someone who does, or you definitely don't feel like someone who does. You feel like you're wearing a mask to do it. And I just knew I had to turn my life around, and I based my principles and everything on that.
So what did that really look like? I mean, were you just out of shape?
It's not so much out of shape. It's I finally started when I opened up social media, I knew that I had to be in front of people and not like hide myself like I typically do with crippling body dysmorphia. So I knew I had to battle that head on, and that was very hard for me. So I drank more, I partied more, I did what I had to get through it. And pretty soon, my body was not keeping up with my mental health. I got up to about like 250, and I was at a bachelor party, and we were up until like 5 a.m. just drinking and like doing blow, and then someone just took a picture of me, and I just looked blacked out, bloated, and just not the owner of an online like coaching company. And I needed that in my face to be like, you can either keep going or you can finally just meet yourself where you're at for the first time in your life and give yourself grace and just take care of yourself. Don't try to meet anyone else's expectations. Don't try to rush this for anyone. You just got to do you. And I never went back.
Was substance a consistent thing in your life?
Like every other weekend, if someone had a bag, we would just do a few lines. It wasn't like I was like doing it on my own or anything like that.
Drinking, more binge drinking?
Yeah. I I did everything in excess when my inhibitions were off. I binged in excess and I drank in excess. It wasn't like I was craving alcohol when I didn't have it. It was just when I did have it during the weekends, it would typically lead to me blacking out.
Yeah. It's good that's how it started for me too.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But then it turned
Now I maybe have like a drink or two a month, maybe some wine with dinner, maybe a martini when I'm out, but that's about it.
Yeah. It's good. It's good to be able to turn that off. It's impossible for people that struggle the way that I struggle. Not You can't take an alcoholic and turn them into a normal drinker. It's impossible. Lord knows we've tried. we've done everything.
Well, I'm really, really proud of you for that. That's awesome.
Oh, well, yeah, it had to happen. It's been a while. Actually, I celebrate my sobriety birthday in 2 days.
That's awesome, man.
And it's cool. For me, it's funny because I was just like you, where it was like the weekend would come and I get a bag and like, I'd stretch an 8 ball throughout the weekend and whatever. And that was totally fine. And then, you get older and you start to make more money. And like for me, it was funny because like rock bottom for me was not what rock bottom looks like for a lot of people. Like I had a home, I had a penthouse, I had like a bunch of like shit. Like I was like really established. And rock bottom for me it turned into unaliving myself. And after an attempt, my brother saved my life.
Nice, great.
And ended up in California and never went back. Just changed my entire surroundings. But anyways, no, that's good. And body dysmorphia too. Like I can relate to you there. But what you said earlier is you found out what works for you or what works in general. What does that look like?
Just honestly, I just want to be strong. I want to be mobile. I want great heart health. I want great internal health. And I find a lifting schedule that works for me. I can keep track of how I'm progressively overloading and just know that I'm getting stronger there, improve my cardiovascular endurance by tracking my times for my running. I would love to swim, but it's so hard to find an available pool. And as far as my mental health, I go to therapy. I talk a lot with my wife about things that are bothering me, and I'm able to articulate it in a way to self-reflect instead of just what I used to do in the past and just get fucked up and forget about it. And
what about nutrition?
Nutrition, I have about 220 grams of protein per day, 30 grams of fiber. I pretty much have the same breakfast every day, protein, shake for lunch, and usually a protein bar at some point during the day. And then dinner is when I just make whatever I want, usually some sort of like gourmet meal or something. And then at night, I typically have some sort of fruit and like a Yasso bar or like a Skinny Cow ice cream sandwich or something, and a diet soda, and that's about it.
All right. I think one thing that you've expressed in your content is on like nutrition rigidity, seed oils and things like that. And while I don't disagree with you on seed oils, I choose not to eat them. But
okay, that's all right.
But on a personal rigidity level, it's interesting because earlier, so one of my best friends, he's part of our coaching group, JWX. His name's Jay Ferrugia, and he was on a podcast, and he was talking about, and I can send you the clip later on. But he basically says you don't need cheat meals. You're an adult. Children have cheat meals. Like, you don't need to have a cheat.
I literally just did a post about that today. Did you see it or no?
Oh, about Jay's?
No, about cheat meals.
Okay. What are your thoughts on cheat meals?
That you shouldn't have them. If you want a cookie, you have a cookie. If you want ice cream, you have ice cream. You don't designate a pig out time for you to just live two separate lives. You learn how to have balance and control, and don't be food's bitch.
Yeah. Or you just don't eat it.
Yeah, I just, when you talk to someone who had exercise bulimia and chewing and spitting, going down 600 calories a day and binging a lot, if I deprive myself, then it becomes forbidden fruit, then I'll have it during a binge. If I give myself what I need and I fit it in, then I'm more than okay and still have quality of life.
I see. Yeah, I guess, you don't really consider, because it's funny because like the vast majority of the people that I work with are like, I want this no matter what it takes, right? And
so your friend said no cheat meals, like because it wouldn't do your body any good.
He just said that your whole life has been a cheat meal. If you have goals in mind, then stick to the fucking plan.
So he's saying not to have a cheat meal for a different reason than I am. I'm saying it so that you don't inevitably binge it from deprivation.
Right. My entire thing is that your diet should be comprised of the foods that you actually enjoy, that make sense, right?
Yeah.
That there really should never need to be a treat. That really children have treats. Like you want a Capri Sun with your snack, like it's not really, as grown men, like we eat the food that we like to eat, and it's the food that's designed for what our goals are as a coach. And that's where the cheat meal thing, it comes off as a little bit soft.
I think that a designated pig out doesn't make sense, especially just eating highly caloric foods for the sake of eating highly caloric foods. But I'll bake a dozen cookies, full fat, full sugar, or whatever, and I won't have 5 of them. I'll sit down and I'll enjoy one, and I'll have those dozen cookies for like over like a month, and I won't binge them because I enjoyed it. Now, what I used to do is if I had something like that, I would eat it in the corner and shovel it in my face, and I would be present and enjoy it. But
how do you teach that to a client? Because most clients don't have that type of discipline.
Right. Well, the worst thing you can do is just throw them in the deep end without building a foundation. You need to give them grace because they're used to being yelled at. They're used to being reprimanded. They need to feel like they're in a place that they can grow and learn and realize ultimately after every time either they eat themselves into a food coma or binge, they don't feel good, even though it gives them the temporary dopamine. You have to remind them that their satiety will increase with protein and fiber. You have to realize that it has nothing to do with fat or skinny. It has to do with how you feel and how you treat yourself. And when you really do get into cooking and you don't just cook like bland chicken and broccoli and just like think that that's what dieting is. If you learn how to cook correctly, make like delicious vegetables and nice lean proteins and stuff, then you get excited about it and you sit down and you're present as opposed to just woofing things down that are just highly palatable. And over time, they start feeling better and it starts reinforcing the intrinsic motivation to do this as opposed to someone going, you can't eat this, you can't eat this, you can't eat this. Right.
So, okay, I agree. Let me stop you though for a second, okay? Because here's where you and I are probably going to completely separate, okay?
Okay.
And I want to relate this to exactly the one thing. You can have a drink and leave half on the table. So a normal drinker, what they say, like from like, you know, I forget the name of it, but anyways, it's like the addiction specialist basically talk about a normal drinker is somebody who has 1.5 drinks, meaning that they have a drink and they leave half at the table, and maybe that's once. That's considered a normal drinker. Exactly what you described earlier. Okay, an alcoholic would not even be able to comprehend.
Sure, I understand that.
So when you're dealing with people who are obese to morbidly obese, there is a vast majority of them that are food addicts, that are actually addicted to food. They're addicted to feeling satiated. They're addicted to feeling a certain way. And in my eyes, it is impossible to take an addict and turn them into a now and then type person or whatever. I believe truly, wholeheartedly, that an addict can only survive under complete abstinence.
Okay, do you mind if I give my input on that?
Well, that's why we're doing this, bro.
Okay. I find that there's more of a physiological dependency on substances and alcohol than there is on food. I used to be, if I had one bite of peanut butter, I would want the whole jar. Okay. I just like, I would go nuts and I would just like eat it like Gollum in Lord of the Rings, just like in the corner. Right. Like I had certain triggers. Like for instance, at home, when I used to binge, the second my parents went to bed, that was my signal to go downstairs and binge. And I had a whole routine of fridge, freezer, cabinet, fridge, freezer, cabinet. And if I ever got caught, I was so embarrassed. And I tried eliminating things. I really did. I tried eliminating things cold turkey. I wrote X's on things that I couldn't have, right? Because it was still my parents' house. So obviously I didn't want to throw away food that they had. And if I did have it, I would run 5 miles. That was my punishment. That was when my exercise bulimia kicked in. Okay. So for a long time, just eliminating things didn't work for me. And basically, I find that a lot of the people who are food addicts or who claim to be food addicts, they just never really took the time to sit in that space and be like, hey, why are you doing this? You know, it was kind of animalistic and impulsive. When I used to binge and stuff, I never asked myself why. And then when you come to the why, you can kind of dig in a little bit deeper and understand the root of it. Because I find that eliminating it or just tossing it aside, in my opinion, is putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And through my clients who didn't give up, I'll admit there's a lot of clients who just gave up and ghosted me, no matter how much they spent. But the ones who stuck with it, the ones who are able to tell me why they did it, and the ones who are able to kind of sit with it and not feel shame, but learn, then they start implementing new habits that ultimately make them feel better because now they're conscious of what they're doing and not just turning their brain off. And then we're rewiring it together. And it might take 6 months, but once they get to the other side, they're not going back. And that's my approach. And I understand that we're different there. But me coming from a severely disordered eating background, it's just how I'm wired to think.
Yeah, I don't think that our background was that different, actually. When it comes to that, I've done the same thing, dude. I was from 12 to 15 years old. I was at fat camp like literally like heavyweights fat camp. Yeah, same thing. My parents went to bed downstairs. I didn't have that exact routine. I think it was a little bit different, but it was sweet. It was sweet to savory. You know what I mean? So we're actually very similar in that case. The wiring of the brain, though, and just the way the approach is different. Now, the other thing to consider is when we look at addiction, what we talk about is like in like the groups that I go into and stuff like that, and what has allowed me to get sober and allowed me to be abstinent of things like sugar, stuff like that. This is me, and this is the way that I coach my addict clients. Like I said, I don't necessarily coach all my clients this way. I allow them to have their fun and all of that. but my addict clients, I do understand that very, very rarely is the substance the problem. It is the solution, right? It's never the problem. Like alcohol is not the problem. It's the solution, right? Drugs are not the problem. They're the solution. Overeating, binge eating, and sugar and things like that is not the problem. It's the solution. So instead, there has to be a version of yourself that you have to dig deep to get to that doesn't need that stuff. Why would I eat sugar to feel some type of way? That's not the version of myself that needs that to put that in my body to feel some type of way, to feel better about a situation. And so for me, it's more rewiring. It's more a matter of like creating the version of you that doesn't need that abstinence of that. It's not even abstinence at that point. It's just a complete lack of desire to even ingest anything like that. Booze,
sure.
Gambling, sex, whatever. It's not who you become.
And you're not sacrificing anything because it ultimately improves your quality of life, right?
Correct.
Right. See, me being like a really big like foodie and everything like that, and just loving other cultures and the food that it has and stuff, I like to be present and enjoy French pastries, Italian pastries, things like that, and like other like dishes that I enjoy basically. But I trained myself that if I do have it, I need to be present, and it needs to be something that I truly want, and not just something that I'm having because it's there. Right. Like
Even
I remember
for the sake of eating it.
Right. Like I remember when I came to that realization when I stayed at my in-laws, and I was going downstairs to make my usual breakfast, and I came down and there were like pastries and stuff. And I didn't wake up wanting pastries. I wanted my regular breakfast. So I'm going to have what I was going to have. Right. I think that people need to stop just being like, well, I need to have like this for dessert. Well, I need this. I'm like, well, just take a second. Do you need it? You know, like if you really want it and you could stand behind it, have it. You're a grown adult, have it. However, if you have guilt after, if you have remorse, and then this goes into you just eating more to get dopamine from feeling like you failed, now this is a pattern of behavior.
Right.
Now that's what we need to address. If you can't eat something and stand behind it, then it's a bigger problem. Everything that I eat, I stand behind. It's like something that I can afford or I can't afford. Right. So that's basically how I look at it.
Yeah. I get it. It's good stuff. I'm glad we were able to have this conversation because this is something that, even Brad Jensen and I talk about every now and then when it comes to this kind of stuff, because he's less restrictive than I am. Mm-hmm. We both have our agreeances and disagreeances. We talk every day. So
well, you and Brad both have emotional intelligence, and we can all talk about this stuff and understand that we're on the same mission. There are so many people who think that my mission is just to make people as fat as possible and to just no, I know that you know that, but they're just like, you just want people to eat nothing but junk food and all this. And I'm like, look at me giving advice to anyone. I tell them exactly what they need to hear. Mm-hmm. And they just make their judgment based on what they see, especially since I'm not like a bodybuilder or anything. So they just take that, they take me being kind as enabling and coddling, and they don't realize that I'm actually giving quality advice to someone who's been in this industry for over 20 years.
Yeah. That's a good topic though. Having the emotional intelligence and the understanding. Yeah. If you can't meet someone where they are, if you can't get down to their level, and here's the other thing too, is like if your method, you need to know if your methods benefit the actual client.
Yeah, of course.
Like I can tell you, my partner and I, because we run very rigid meal plans. That's how we structure everything. Is extremely rigid. They check in with us every single day. Our clients weigh in every single day, and that's more or less so we know where their food's at, because it's a very dialed in program. But if somebody, it would be unethical for me to take somebody's money that I don't believe would actually.
Yep. I have a thorough screening process for the same reason. I have a lot of people who want someone like you more, and I would say, hey, I'm not going to take your investment because I'm more sustainable. I'm more lifestyle based as opposed to basically what you do. Have the same mission, just different ways of getting there.
Right. Yeah. Like my ideal client is somebody who's like, and the people that we mostly work with are guys who make like seven figures that want to be shredded, that want to be like their most elite, never drink again, never do anything again. And that's where we come in.
Right.
And that's not realistic for a lot of like people.
Right. And my type of person are people who've been burned by trainer after trainer who made them feel less than, who didn't meet them where they were at, who just took a beginner and gave them a crazy workout with like a 1,200 calorie meal plan and just basically didn't give them any tools for them to utilize for themselves long term. And I just let them know that it's a safe space and they can trust me and they can talk about things that they were too afraid to talk about and conquer limiting beliefs and just chase performance and health. And then the aesthetics kind of just fall into place. Yeah. So I just have a different way of doing it that makes them feel excited as opposed to dreading it.
Yeah. And I don't think that any of my clients dread it. The goals are, I understand. And I know who you're talking about and like what type of coaches you are talking about. And that's the biggest difference, right? Cause like what I see, and we were talking about one of the guys before we pressed record, and we don't need to really talk about who it is, but the minions that come along with them, and this is what I know exists and what I know occurs, is that these guys have no knowledge on nutrition. They have no actual like understanding of anything. What they know is a 500 calorie deficit based on what they think BMR is, and then a 40-40-20 macro split. And they have no real but when they go to that 20, they go 20% on the fat. So then they're seeing results in terms of side-by-side photos. Of course, you put anybody at a 500 calorie deficit, pull all their fats, they're going to lean out. There's no question. Ask those people how they're feeling.
Yeah. If you give a marathon runner a jetpack, they're going to get first place, but at what cost? Like it's like a financial advisor saying, you want more money, stop paying your bills. Like, oh, okay. And it's just like, that's why I get so mad at them, because there's so many people who talk shit about my coaching. I'm very transparent. I say on a pinned video what it is exactly that I do, along with my rates and everything. I have nothing to hide. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that before they jump on a consultation with me. I don't have to talk them into the sale. They know they're doing it before like I even like pitched them, because I told them what it was. And basically, I'm losing my train of thought. Hold on. I was right there. Oh, yeah. And I don't do rigid meal plans because I take the time to kind of help them build a plate and understand. I do have them log the calories, and I help them find efficiency and tools that will help long term. And that works better for them specifically because they've been burned before and they just learned differently. Right. And there's people who just like talk shit about my rates or say that I'm not worth it and that it's a lazy approach and that I'm coddling. And I'm like, you don't know anything about what I do. Like I literally have drastic before and afters. And because they're not fucking bodybuilders, they're like, oh, that's nothing. And real like professionals don't do that. They value anyone who's trying to help anyone in this space.
So I've worked with a lot of bodybuilder coaches, like hundreds of bodybuilder coaches. Your approach is far, far, far more lucrative. I have this joke that I can't believe I'm fucking saying this. I have this joke that IFBB stands for I'm fucking broke, bitch. It's actually crazy because I have guys that are like elite, like super dialed in like guys that do what I do, like blood labs and all of that stuff that I have like a full-blown dietitian. I don't even talk nutrition to my clients. That's what my partner does. And he's 35 years of experience, reads blood labs, sets everything up. protocols, all of that stuff. I don't even touch any of that because I don't know like he does. But I have guys that are like IFBB pros that have, will teach you how to prep and do all of this stuff. Dude, these guys maybe break 10K every 4 months. Like they make no money. And their clients are always like, I always hear the same thing every single time. Oh, I had this guy ghost me, or I had this, and the other thing. I charge $20,000 for a year. And I typically will only take a year client that commits to me.
Yeah. I do 900 a month, and I do 3 months, 6 months, or a year.
Yeah. And you get better quality when you're charging $1,000 a month, or close to. You're getting a better quality client that's far more invested, that works better with you. And the best thing about it is that when you are able to put yourself across social media and be like you, which you are, okay. And why I wanted to even pursue this, why I initially reacted to one of your reels is because that authenticity shows in the success of your program. I knew you were successful as a coach before, and I've worked with 1,500 coaches, and I knew you were successful as a coach before I even reacted to until we even connected, right? Because I can tell that you give a fuck. Right? We have a different style of coaching. We have different philosophies, but at the end of the day, our values are the same.
Yeah. I still respect you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have said yes to this. And I think that you're a quality coach as well, because like I said, I wouldn't have said yes to this otherwise. And I realize that we have different approaches, but ultimately you still give a shit about who you're working with, as opposed to the people who are just chasing the before and after, as opposed to the people who are just calling their clients weak based on their own incompetence that they're not facing. And it's all over the place.
Yeah. I'm glad we did this.
Me too.
So, for people to find you that watch this, how do they find you?
Instagram, James_Cappola. TikTok is James_Cappola_fit coach, CAPPOLA. And YouTube, it's taken forever to grow. And honestly, I still don't give a shit anymore. It's James.Cappola, CAPPOLA. I'm not pulled to YouTube at all. I don't know.
When we get off this, I'll tell you a couple of things that I've learned along the way. Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you click subscribe. We'll put all of James's stuff below because it's all really confusing the way he spells everything out. And we appreciate you guys tuning in to Justin Wenzel podcast. We'll catch you next time.